1, Niner, 4, 3, dead.
Get in position and wait for my go.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Erkley and welcome to another edition of the PE Crime Blotter. We begin with crime headlines. Hemet police are investigating if a takeover robbery of a jewelry store in the Hemet Valley Mall is connected to a number of similar robberies throughout Southern California this year. Fashion Island Jewelers had over $400,000 worth of merchandise stolen during the April 30th takeover when 5 masked men entered during working hours, broke display cases with sledgehammers, and fled with the loot. Police are looking for a dark blue Chevy Suburban with the partial license plate 6UIT. Police are seeking at least 3 gunmen in a Sunday night shooting that left 2 dead and 2 wounded at a barbecue in the Delman Heights section in San Bernardino. One of the survivors, a woman who was waiting for her husband's ball game to end, remains on life support. A 31-year-old former Hemet High School teacher pleaded guilty last week to 3 felony counts of sexual misconduct with a student in her classroom, but managed to avoid registering as a sex offender under the terms of her plea deal. Janelle Ramirez was placed on 5 years probation and 120 days of house arrest for her role in a liaison with a then 16-year-old male student. Ramirez, a married mother of 2, resigned from her teaching post back in April. Prosecutors say the fact that she is a parent of 2 small children and the fact that other extended family members live with her played a role in not requiring her to register as a sex offender. Police say a 26-year-old San Bernardino man has died from an electric shock and burns he suffered while attempting to steal copper wire at an electrical substation in that city. Michael Morga Garcia was fatally injured Saturday afternoon at the substation about 2 blocks from Central City Mall. Police say the evidence shows that Garcia cut a wire, shortcutting about 33,000 volts through his body. Lake Elsinore Sheriff's deputies have been searching for a man who tried to coax a 13-year-old girl into his car in the Lakeland Village area last week. They suspect it might have been the same man who got smacked across the face with a spiked track shoe by a teen girl he grabbed near Lakeside High School the week before. The Riverside County Sheriff's Department released 2 composite sketches last week based on descriptions from each girl. Sheriff's officials asked anyone with information call the Lake Elsinore station at 951-245-3300 or the Sheriff's Dispatch at 951-776-1099. Well, that does it for crime headlines. Coming up next on the docket. It's now time for our On the Docket segment. We're taking a look at the big court cases here in Riverside and San Bernardino County. Joining me now, as always, Rich Diatley. Rich, the first case we're looking at is Tyrone Hartz. He's accused of killing his ex-girlfriend. Right.
He was ordered to trial after a preliminary hearing. He's pleaded not guilty. This is a death penalty case. Authorities say Hartz snuck into the Moreno Valley home of the ex-girlfriend, shot her, then set her ablaze, and some of her 6 children had to put out that fire.
Our next case is Kevin Mansfield, a man from Riverside, accused of murdering a longtime friend in Riverside.
Right. The 2 were both 31 years old, both friends since middle school. Friends and relatives say this happened after a tragic night of drinking and drug taking, and Kevin is due into court for entering a plea.
And finally, a case that we've talked about a lot involves Officer Ryan Bonamenio from the Riverside Police Department. He was killed in the line of duty back in 2010. The man on trial for that murder is Earl Ellis Green.
This trial has been moving very, very fast this week. The prosecution is rested. The defense is rested. Now we expect final arguments on Thursday. It may go to the jury on Thursday.
Rich, thanks for joining us. Be sure to keep us updated on that one. Everyone's going to want to hear the verdict. All right, that does it for our On the Docket segment. Coming up next, Most Wanted. It is now time for our Most Wanted segment. We're taking a look at the most wanted criminals from both Riverside and San Bernardino County. Joining me now, Press Enterprise's John Asbury. Our first guy, Juan Ortiz from Hemet.
Right. Juan Ortiz, he's wanted from 2008 crime. Authorities said that a woman had come home late to her home in Hemet where she saw another female coworker who claimed she had broken down. She was there with Ortiz and an infant child, but after she agreed to give her a ride, Ortiz threatened her with a knife and tied her up in the back seat with zip ties. Also ordered her to tell her where another female lived so they could rob her but couldn't find her. The woman was later passed out after she was held with rubbing alcohol over her face and driven to Mexico, where authorities said Ortiz sodomized her. And he threatened to kill her, but eventually let her go.
Our next guy staying in Hemet is Ramon Lopez.
Right. Ramon Lopez, he is wanted for a 2009 child molestation case, and he's actually wanted in California and in Michigan. Authorities said back in 2009 he was accused of molesting a young girl and a young boy who he knew, and after he had fled the scene, he moved to Michigan, where he was wanted in Grand Rapids for molesting another 8-year-old, and so he's a fugitive in both states.
Finally, out in the desert in Coachella, Rigoberto Solido.
Right, and Solido is wanted in a DUI hit-and-run crash. He was in a crash in Coachella and fled the scene, and authorities said he later called somebody and said he was drunk and had left. The victim in that case suffered life-threatening injuries, but eventually recovered.
Now, John, if anyone has any information on any of these fugitives, where can they call?
Right, authorities are asking everyone with information to call 855-21-CATCH.
All right, John, thanks for joining us. That does it for our Most Wanted segment. Coming up next, In Depth. It's now time for our In-Depth segment. We're discussing Lonnie Remmers, the pastor from Corona. I'm joined now by the Press Enterprise's Brian Rokos. Brian, Lonnie Remmers was arrested back in March. He was accused of child assault.
And I've spent a good deal of the past month in Orange County researching more details of his life, going through court records and talking to associates and family members. And I talked to his mother-in-law, who blamed him for tearing apart the family. The court cases indicate that he got a divorce. His ex-wife accused him of bigamy. There was a police officer in Irvine that he fought with 23 years ago who remembers just about every detail of the fight, and the officer said he came within about a second of shooting Pastor Remmers during a fight.
And he actually has, or had involvement with the Corona Police Department.
Yeah, he was a member of the Citizens Academy. That's a group of individuals, residents who learn police tactics. He had also applied to be a police chaplain, but he failed the background test. And he's also currently facing a $10 million lawsuit out of Ohio. A bank is accusing him of swindling an Ohio developer.
And what's the latest in court for Remmers?
Well, Lonnie Remmers and co-defendants Nicholas Craig and Daryl Jeter are due in court May 9th for a felony settlement conference, kind of a routine hearing.
All right, Brian, thanks for joining us. Be sure to keep us updated on the latest with Remmers. That does it for our In-Depth segment and also wraps up this week's PE Crime Blotter. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.